Hi, my name's Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. This is the Darton Consequence. New name. I think it's a new name for a bow. This bow was voted best value bow, which means not the... I think it means, whether they mean that or not, I think it means best mid-price bow in the market. So not beginner bows, not advanced bows, the bow in the middle. And there's a lot of contenders for that, so we're going to talk about that in this video. So before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about Darton Archery. So Darton is one of the older bow companies. Okay, it was set up by Rex Darrington. He was an engineer who was into cars. Okay, he was into building fast drag cars, right? So he got into archery, I'm going to say back in the 80s. And Darton was the first company I was the distributor for in Australia. At the time when Rex... I'm going to say Rex or Mike put me on as the Australian distributor. Rex said no. He said he doesn't want to deal with Australians anymore because two shops had ripped him off. Okay, for money. I pay my bills in advance, so I don't have any credit. Basically, so I didn't understand the issues. But back in the old days, and probably the case today, when bow companies supply shops bows, they give them the bows and then they hope the shops will pay them back. This leads to lots of problems for the manufacturers getting money from shops, and shops don't pay them and the manufacturers go broke. Right, so anyway, I started selling Darton. I had huge success with Darton. And then so Darton faded away a bit. Now, one of the huge successes I had with Darton, they made great bows. They had great customer service. They were fast at shipping. But their prices were really good compared to other bow companies, like significantly cheaper. And so I felt like I had a massive gain on the market at the time, right? So that's where I was with Darton. This is the new model, so we're going to take a look at it. I haven't shot it, I haven't drawn this bow. I don't know anything, and we're going to compare this to other bows, discussion. So this is the Consequence, right? So this is the labels. Comes in a few colours, so maybe I can put them up on the screen. Now the paint finish up close, this is a paint. Different bow companies use different paint finishes, so be aware of what the different paint finishes are. This is a paint finish, it looks quite durable. I'm going to say you knock it against stuff, it will chip. Okay. There's other finishes like anodizing. The other one for camo is like a baked on process or a film process. There's a few different processes of paint. This is just a normal paint process. You have multiple, I'm going to say you have multiple positions for sights, but you don't. You have the one position for the sight, position for a two-piece quiver. Now, in the past, Darton had two-piece quivers. They don't anymore. I'm pretty sure they don't. Roller cable slide. This is good. This features on their top-level bows. A yoke system, and this is interesting. You can see it's not level here. So I'm going to say attention to detail. You can see it's clearly at an angle. Look, it's not going to make any difference. It's just people are going to go, look, it's not square. And it's not square because you haven't put that in the middle. There's a square down the bottom. Look, it's pretty square at the bottom. But it's a yoke system, rotating modules, which is good. Draw stop. Now, on some bows, this is rubber. This is solid steel. Now, in the old days, PSE used to do these stops with rubber, and a lot of people would buy, I think it's Bomar stops, and put them on here, and these were just solid steel. That's what these are. So to adjust the draw length, you don't need a bow press. It's just there, two screws, you rotate the module, and draw stop. This is a very similar system to Bowtech, to PSE. It's a pretty similar system. Twin cam. So cam top, cam bottom, yoke system, pretty simple. Specs on this bow, 29.5. This is from my memory, so we'll see how good my memory is. But I'll throw the stats up on the screen. 29.5 axle, so it's a fairly short bow. And you've got to think about this when you're buying a bow, especially mid-price bows. 31 inches is really common for hunting, and then as you go more towards target, the bows become longer. The reason the bows become longer is that as the bows become shorter, the peep sight moves further away from your eye, so a little bit harder to aim. People who hunt prefer more compact bows for just carrying around the bush, right? Mass weight on this bow is 4.3, and we're going to compare this to other bows. I'm going to say it's a machine riser, metal limb pockets, no locking system on the top of the range Dartons. You have a locking system. The cams look good. You have a little thing here to show if it's timed, right? The grip feels like a PSE. These here, it's not a rubber, it's a plastic, but it's a hard plastic. They're obviously just a stick-on with two-sided tape. Look, it's not too bad. I can't tell you what the quality of the Darton strings are like. Right, price point on this bow. I did a bit of research before, so I compared what this bow sits with in America versus Australia. In America, this bow competes dollar for dollar with the Elite Terrian and the PSE Drive NXT. So I'm going to say those two are the big selling bows in this price point, in the mid-range price point. So this bow was voted bow of the year for 2024 at the mid-range price point, which I find interesting because the other bows are very, very impressive, which I have behind me. So we're going to compare them before I even shoot this, so you can see how it compares. Now, Darton has got rid of the axle. So if you're used to axles with circlips, Darton's got rid of these. These are roller bearings in here. Look, it looks pretty fancy. It looks good. Now, in America, dollar for dollar, this is about the same price as the Hoyt Torex, which I don't really know much about. It's not big on my radar. I'm going to say I've never seen one. I do have them in my shop. No one's bought one. And I don't know what that is, but anyway, so it competes dollar for dollar for the Hoyt Torex, the Elite Terrian, and the Drive. In Australia, that's quite different. Quite different. In Australia, this bow retails for about 1,400 Australian dollars, and the Drive, I think, is 1,200, and I think the Elite Terrian is about 1,100. So what that means is there's either a difference in price margins about how much dealers are making in America versus Australia, or there's differences in the pricing from America to Australia. Okay, so either Darton's charging more than Elite and PSE to me than Elite and PSE do, or the dealers in America are making less, and that makes no sense to me at all because they seem to have a standard price range, right? I do like this cable guard. See how it's shaped here? So 2 screws to hold it in. I really like that. Right, so I like that. Let's compare the other bows in the market. This is the Elite Terrian. From top of my head, about 32 inches axle. This is a hybrid cam system, so more like what Hoyt had, rotating module here, the same sort of draw stop system. Not roller cable slide here, so you're going to say Darton's a little bit better with a roller cable slide. Look, this bow is very solid, machine riser, metal limb pockets. It's a pretty good bow. The Drive is one of the most popular mid-price bows, I'm going to say, ever made, right? Used to be popular because it used to be $850, but inflation took its toll, and now it's about 1,200 Australian dollars, right? I think this is a cast riser. It may be machined, but I think it's cast. I like the fact you can see the limb pockets here, so you can see how much you can wind it out. On this bow, you can get more than 10 pounds of weight adjustment, and that's really suitable for customers in this price bracket because you can get about 20 pounds of weight adjustment. The Elite, you get 15. The Darton, you get 10 pounds. This is critical if you're thinking about buying a bow, because if you're new to the sport, you need more than 10 pounds of weight adjustment, because when you get started, you're going to be, let's say, start at 40 pounds, and in a few weeks, you're going to be up to 60 pounds, and you're going to be thinking about a 70-pound bow. So it's really important that you have adjustment, which the Drive has, which is why it's one of the more popular bows. It's got a yoke system, same as the Elite, right? Plastic limb pockets, as opposed to metal limb pockets. Cam system very similar to the Elite, to the Darton. It's a twin cam, rotating module, but there's no draw stop to move as well. It's just the one module here. So I'm going to say the Darton, the PSE is really simple to adjust positions here. Axle, I think it's about 32. It's very comfortable to shoot. Speeds on all these bows is about the same, from 325 to 330 feet per second. Brace height is 7 inches to 7.5 on the three models. And the weights are from 3.9 to 4.3 pounds. So it's very, very similar. But there is a price difference, right? So I'm going to say, just looking at these three bows, there's a difference in the cable slides. So the PSE and the Elite are basically the same. Darton has that roller system, so maybe a little bit better. Darton's got the metal limb pockets, which PSE's got the plastic limb pockets at this price point. But besides that, I think they're very, very similar, right? You got plastic grip on the drive now. It used to be a metal grip, like the Darton or like the Elite. But the PSE is a couple $100 cheaper than the Darton. Same price as the Elite, right? Similar draw length adjustment, but you've got a bit more poundage adjustment on the drive than the Elite. Okay, so just looking at the drive and the terrain compared to the Consequence, I'm like, this is a hard choice about which bow to choose, because to me they're very, very similar. I don't know about the shorter draw length, the shorter axle size here. Look, I think this bow looks a little bit more polished than the Elite and the PSE. I like this cable slide, cable guard, how it locks in. I like the cams. The cams look a bit nicer. Not that there's anything wrong with the others. I don't know what the strings are like. I'm going to say the strings on the Terrain are really good. The strings on the drive should be pretty good because they're made by computer. So the speeds are about the same on all the three bows. And the one that is faster is the shorter brace height, which is 7 inches. Oh, I'm going to say one of the issues with Darton, so on the card here, on the Elites and on the PSE, all the data you need is on the card. And on this card, there's nothing of value. There is literally nothing here except for this little bit here in small print. And if you're like me, you need glasses to read it because it's so small. That is of use. Now, these cards, for a consumer, should have all the information they need. It should have the axle size, the brace height, the speed, the draw length adjustments. So my first advice is for Darton is to fix this, to put that stuff on in big text. Now, let's just grab Darton, Kevin, just so you know what I'm talking about. That's the way your card should look for your back thing, so consumers can grab it, so the salesperson can grab it, because salespeople can't remember all these stats off their top of their head. They have hundreds of bows, they can't remember them. This makes it easy. Make life easy, Darton, for salespeople and customers to choose your product over other people's products. Right, so this bow rated higher. I didn't see a review where someone compared the three models, but my problem at this price point at $1,400 is at about $1,900 you get the top of the range bows, and that's with all the fancy stuff, right? So this bow only has 10 pounds worth of weight adjustment. I would like it to be 20 pounds of weight adjustment. I think you can get this through bigger limb pockets here. You can see the size of the thread. Here, like if they had longer threads down the bottom, it's a problem. But look, you know, I'm not an engineer, but I think there's solutions to this. So let's just try the draw. Solid, and then drops in. So I'm just going to let that down. So the valley's short, and it's not a big valley. It's it doesn't feel like 80%. It feels like about 75. So let's just try the shot. So it's very comfortable. We're going to make the shot. Really quiet, no vibration at all. The bow's top heavy, so it comes back when you shoot. The drive and the train, I'm going to say, a better balance, but that bow is absolutely fantastic to shoot. This one, I'm going to say it probably shoots better than the terrain and the drive, I think. Although the balance isn't as good. So what we're going to do now, we'll move back to 18 and see how well I shoot with it. Okay, so I'm at 18 metres. Fingers crossed they go in the middle. I'm outside of the shop because there was a few people coming inside the shop, so I was like, well, I'll go outside and let them walk around. Right, how do I think I'll shoot? It's like under 30 inches, which is a little bit more twitchy than a longer bow generally. I've found I've shot pretty good with shorter bows. 7-inch brace height, so that should be fairly stable, so I shouldn't get much of that. So I think I'll probably shoot okay. I generally shoot okay with a smooth draw. This absolutely has a great draw cycle. It feels good to shoot when you shoot it. Like there's very little vibration. So I think I'll shoot okay. Will I shoot better or worse than the drive and the train? Let's see. Now, when it comes to price point on this bow, $1,400. I think, would I buy this bow or would I buy the Darton sequel, the top of the range one? So let's discuss that as we shoot this video. I can't see where that went, so hopefully it went in the middle. Yeah, as I said, this bow in America is different price to Australia. So in Australia, this bow is $1,400. The top of the range metal bows tend to be around $1,900. I think the PSE is a little bit cheaper, maybe $1,800. So for me, the top of the range bows have everything. They have all the tuning systems. They just tend to have more adjustments and stuff. So for me, I would upgrade at the $1,400 to just the $1,900 and be done with it. However, the mid-price bows tend to be brought by beginners, in which case you're looking for a bow that's not a beginner's bow, but you're looking to spend a little bit more, but not top of the range. So what I'm looking for is a bow with more adjustments. So that's why I'd like this bow to have 20 pounds worth of adjustments. So I'd be saying to Darton, this bow at 20 pounds worth of adjustment is a very different proposition to the top of the line sequel, because what you're saying, this bow allows the archer to build up to the top of the line bow. But when it's only got 10 pounds worth of adjustment, then it's like, well, it's probably not suitable for beginners. Now this little thing here is coming up and coming under my grip, which is a bit annoying. Right. All my arrows are missing the all my arrows are missing the target. This happens in my videos. It's because I'm not standing in the right position. Now, I don't know why they're missing this bad. So we're going to move back to 18. And this happens in my videos because I don't reshoot. And I do this on purpose, not to annoy Darton. And I'm sure it's annoying to Darton that I do this. I thought that was 18 meters, but I was at the wrong mark, right? Now, okay, I don't understand why that missed by so much, because I came out here before and I shot 4 arrows and they were hitting the gold. And I was like, okay, let's go and get the cameras, set it up, which I've now set up. Now, the only thing that's changed, this bow's been sitting in the heat. So I don't understand the, maybe the whisker biscuit was pushed down like that. So maybe that occurred. Because that just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And there we go, back in the middle. Right, so one of the problems with a whisker biscuit, the problem with a whisker biscuit, if you're shooting the skinny 4mm arrows, it can sit down to the side. It's better with the 6mm arrows, and it's going to be the problem with a whisker biscuit, the skinny arrows, right? So just be a little bit careful so that it sits in the middle of the whisker biscuit and not to the edge. Okay, so those first two would have been just pushed down the whisker biscuit. The bow feels absolutely brilliant to shoot. Okay, so with the Elite Terrian and the Drive, the two bows you're comparing this to. For a beginner, the Drive's got 20 pounds worth of weight adjustment. So I really like that from a sales perspective and from a potential buyer, because it's a bow that's suitable for a beginner because they can go 40 to 60 or 50 to 70. The Terrian has about 15 pounds worth of weight adjustment, which I would prefer 20, but it's still not bad. So I find the Drive is a really good selling bow, and one of my best selling bows in the store. Okay, so when a reviewer goes, this is the best value bow on the market, I really question stuff, because I'm like, how do you value that? Like, what's your decisions you've made? Like, how does this bow feel to draw? The bow feels brilliant to draw. It feels brilliant to shoot. The build quality is fantastic. But when it comes to sales, just the 10 pounds worth of weight adjustment is going to kill it. It's going to kill it. And it makes this bow, it means this bow won't compete to the Drive, in my view. Right? It means people will not buy this bow. So it's all well and good for whoever you are to go and say this is the bow of the year for 2024, but it's like bullshit. Do a little bit of research and go, what do buyers want? How is this going to sell on the market? Because what you've said to shops, this bow is going to outsell anything else in the mid price range. And while it's got great adjustments, the bow's built nice, and everything else, it's not going to outsell the other bows. It's just, even though I could argue this is a better bow, right? Now, I'm seeing a little bit of twitchiness, and that's me just vibrating left to right. So I suppose what I'm saying, so when someone says, look, this is the bow of the year, I say to them, is this a bow you're going to buy? And they're going to say no, because I'm going to buy the sequel. Or I'm going to buy, like the top of the range PSE, or I'm going to buy the top of the range Bowtech, or whatever, right? So it's like you've come out with your reviews, and then you follow it through with absolutely zero because you don't buy one. It's like, I don't know. And then I lose whole faith in it, because it's like, well, what's the point? So yes, the bow's nice to shoot. The draw cycle's nice. It's got good adjustments, but the other bows have got good adjustments too. The other bows are nice to shoot, but they've got more adjustment. And I don't know. Okay, so one of the reasons the Terrian sells well is because it goes to 31.5 inches. There's very few bows that go to 31.5 inches. So as soon as I have that guy comes in who looks like a basketballer, literally I've got the terrain and I might have one more bow in the shop that's suitable. And the terrain's the cheapest of the long draw bows. So it's like, well, if you're big, you're going to buy a terrain, right? So there's your terrain sales. Then if you're a top line archer, so an archer who's been shooting for a while, you're now comparing all the top of the line bows, and you're not even looking at this bow. Because I'm going to say the Consequence, the model up from the Consequence, the sequel, it's got limb locking system, it's got tunability in the limbs, tunability in the cables for an extra $500. Right? I'm going to say if you're spending $1,400, an extra $500, probably not a thing to you. There's a big thing for beginners getting in the sport, paying $300 with everything, sights and arrows, and a person spending $2,000 on a bow. There's a big difference between those buyers. The person goes, look, I want to try archery, I just want something cheap to get started. And the bow hunter who hunts all the time, whose money is no object, this is what I do, so I just want the best there is. And the problem with this bow, the problem with the Consequence, it's not the best bow there is. It's a good bow, but it's not the best there is. So you're not in the argument for the best bow, because Darton itself has a bow better than this. This one's got one vane, so we'll see how this shoots. Now that depends on how the bow's tuned, and I obviously haven't paper tuned it. One vane, like you can get away with two vanes, but one vane's a bit iffy because if your tune's buggered, the arrow will fly off, right? So it's like bare shaft tuning. Look, I really like the way this bow shoots. It's silent, it's really, really nice. I'm really happy with the grip. The bow's solid, fantastic cams, good tuning. As far as I like the timing marks, they're very simple. Look, with the holes in here, if I can show it, the holes there, look, PSE have used this and it's fantastic. Now, so I'm going to make the case that this bow is better than the Elite Terrian and the Drive, okay? It's got metal in pockets and it's got a roller slide, okay? So the Terrain and the Drive don't have a roller slide, so this bow's probably got less vibration than both of those. But I still get look, Darton, you need more poundage adjustment. You're not in the category of mid-price bow without 20 pounds worth of weight adjustment. Now on this topic of mid-price bows, the PSE Drive outsells the top-end PSEs, not 10 to 1, but maybe 5 to 1, right? The Elite Terrian will sell in similar numbers to the top-of-the-line Elites, okay? Similar, because the Terrain's going to be for bigger people, and it's got its own little niche between beginner, advanced and a tall person, right? So it sells in similar numbers to any of the top of the line Elites, so it's got a good market presence. I'm going to say the Darton sequels are going to outsell this 10 to 1, and that's not me selling bows, right? That's not me. This is just new in the shop. I'm just saying that because the price difference I don't think is enough, and I've been wrong before. So the price isn't enough. The top of the line sequels have the tuning systems which have been through here and here, limb locking there, you're just going to buy the better bow as far as I'm concerned with the Darton. And then when you compare this bow to a bow like the PSE top of the range bow, the like NXTs or the EVLs, whichever one we're up to these days, I'm going, look, it's $400. Like, it's a good bow, it's just not the premier bow. So I think it's wrong whether this bow is best value, but I will say it's probably the best shooting bow in the class. Although I shoot quite well with the PSE drive. I really do. Let's go up and see how the group is, because I can't actually see back here, besides those arrows which I missed. Let's see how they've grouped. I'm going to say there's machining marks on the inside here, inside here, and inside here. There's marks which are a bit rough, but it's not really a problem. Look, I don't mind the bow at all. I just don't. If it was the same price as the Terrain and the Drive, then it becomes more interesting, but it just doesn't have the poundage adjustment. The Terrain's going to be big because of the big people for the big draw lengths, so let's go and have a look at how it groups. Okay, now, obviously back there I didn't know where these arrows were going. So these two, they wouldn't have been in the Whiskey Biscuit. So I'm going to pull those out. Right. And that's okay. Look, this is not a bad group. But the one fletched arrow is kind of in the group, and obviously my sights need to move that way. They actually were hit in the middle before I came out, before when I did the practice hand. But I'm more interested in how they group. Look, it groups pretty good. Like, that's a very good group at 18 meters. It's a hot day. It's very hot here in the sun. I'm pretty happy with that. How does that compare to the Terrain and the Drive? There's no wind. I'm going to say I felt a little bit of wobbling when I aimed, so the pin wasn't dead in the center, but it's really not showing up here in the group. Left and right is very good. If anything, I've got up and down adjustments, and that's just, I don't have a peep sight, so that's probably how hard I'm locking to my face. Right, so to summarize, so Randy, like, it's your company and these are your bows, so my advice is your cards that attach onto the bow should have all the specs, the draw lengths, color options, the speeds, the axle, a little price tag should be there, so all that sort of stuff. I think it's a little bit high in price for me. I think it needs to be the same price as the PSE Drive and the Elite Terrain, which it is in America, right? So there's obviously there's a reason for it being different in Australia versus America, and it's not to do with freight. Okay, so it must mean that I'm getting charged a different price to Lancaster, because it makes no sense. Maybe you haven't taken off the FET tax, which applies in America. It doesn't make sense that we're $200 more expensive than a Terrain and a Drive. The Terrain and the Drive are the same price in America that they are here, and yeah, so it doesn't make sense to me. So you need more draw length, you need more poundage adjustment on the bow. But as far as I'm concerned, people are going to be buying the sequels, the Darton sequels, over the Consequence. Then I'm going to have a conversation about naming standards. It'd be really good to keep naming, in my view, to keep naming standards consistent with what you've had in the past, and we could argue that point. But it's like Toyotas have got, the Corolla, and the Corolla's existed forever. It would be good for Darton to have their mid-price bow being called a standard name, and then their other bows being called a standard name. But overall, I think the bow's built well. Darton's always been really solid. They're not over-engineered, so they break. Never had issues with breakages with Darton. Customer service has always been pretty good. These bows came out pretty quick from the time I ordered them, saying that the second order I put in, I haven't heard anything back. So it's been 8 days, 10 days. So I placed another order, and I haven't heard anything back since. So Randy, if you're watching this, I haven't heard anything back. It's been 10 days. So I think when you get an order, you should just acknowledge that you got the order, so the people know that someone's read your email. I'm going to say that doesn't happen with your business, but but overall, I think this bow is completely good enough to compete against the Drive and the Terrain, and arguably better. Okay, it's just for the mid-price point person, it just needs more adjustability in the weight, and I think the price is a little bit high. That at the $1,400 price point in Australia, people will jump up to the other elite premier bows, right? Because it's the $1,000 price point is a price point. So as soon as it's 1,000, as soon as the Drive went from 1,000 to 1,200, it slowed sales because people are like, oh, 1,200, I'll just jump to premium. So there's a nice little price point that is a barrier for people to buy. So they're happy buying $300-400 bows, and then they're happy to buy $1,000 bow, and then as soon as it goes to 1,200, then they're thinking about premier bows like the $2,000 ones. So that's where I'll leave it. But good product, shoots great. Really happy with this group, even though it's not in the middle. It's a very good group, and I'm going to say probably as good as the Drive. And I've shot perfect scores with the Drive. But yeah, I think this is just as good. But yeah, pretty good. I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies. Thanks for watching. Bye.